The colony on Astron 9 was quiet that evening. The twin suns were setting behind the glass domes, and a soft orange glow filled the sky. Inside the research station, Ethan worked late, his hands covered in dust and grease. The air smelled faintly of metal and ozone. Machines hummed around him, but his attention was drawn to the figure standing near the water generator, the alien woman named Lyra. She was unlike anyone Ethan had ever seen. Her skin was a smooth silver blue, almost glowing when the light touched it. Her eyes looked like tiny galaxies, deep and endless. She moved with calm grace, silent but confident. Every time she spoke, her voice carried a strange melody, as if music lived in her words. Lyra had joined the human research team only a few weeks ago. She was a scientist from Zelira, a planet known for its advanced technology and peaceful culture. She studied human behavior with deep curiosity, often asking questions that made Ethan smile. She wanted to know why humans laughed when they were nervous, why they cried when they were happy, and why they spoke so fast when they lied. That evening, the two of them worked side by side, trying to repair a broken water generator that had been giving the team trouble all week. Ethan was sweating, tired, and frustrated. "This thing hates me," he muttered, hitting the side of the machine gently. Lyra tilted her head, confused. "Machines do not hate, Ethan," he laughed. "Yeah, I know. It's a human saying. It means it doesn't like to cooperate." She blinked her bright eyes slowly. "Then your machines are very emotional." Her serious tone made Ethan chuckle again. He liked her honesty, her innocence. There was something pure in the way she looked at the world, like a child seeing everything for the first time. They finally managed to fix the problem. Water began to flow through the pipes again, and the tension broke. Ethan leaned back, smiling proudly. "See? Told you I could do it." Lyra looked at him with quiet admiration. "You are very persistent. Most humans give up after failure." "Well," Ethan said with a grin, "I'm not most humans." She nodded slightly. "No, you are different." Her words made him pause. For a moment, they just looked at each other. The soft hum of machines filled the silence. Lyra's eyes reflected the light, and Ethan found himself caught in them. Then, just to break the strange tension, he said playfully, "You'd be a cute wife, you know that?" It was just a tease, a light joke to make her laugh. But Lyra didn't laugh. Instead, she froze. Her silver hand stopped moving, and her lips parted slightly. The warmth in her eyes changed to something deeper, something he didn't understand. For a long second, she stood silent, as if trying to find breath. Then, in a soft whisper that barely reached his ears, she said, "I accept." Ethan blinked. "Wait, what?" Her voice was calm, gentle, but serious. "On my world, when one says such words, it is a bond proposal, a promise of union. I have accepted." Ethan felt his stomach drop. No, Lyra, I didn't mean it's just a human joke." "I wasn't serious." Her face fell instantly. The light in her eyes dimmed. "You did not mean it. I'm sorry. I didn't know your customs. I never wanted to offend you." Lyra nodded slowly, her hands folding together. "I understand. Humans speak lightly, even about heavy things. I will not forget this lesson." Her voice was soft, but Ethan could feel the pain hidden behind it. She turned away, her shimmering figure walking slowly toward the door. "Lyra, wait." Ethan called out, but she didn't stop. The door closed quietly behind her. Ethan stood alone in the humming silence, his joke echoing painfully in his mind. He had meant to make her smile, but instead, he had broken something fragile and beautiful before it had even begun. That night, as he lay in his bunk staring at the ceiling, he could still hear her voice when that soft, trembling whisper that replayed again and again. "I accept." The next morning, Ethan woke early, hoping to see Lyra in the lab. The night had been long and sleepless. Her words still echoed in his mind. "I accept." He had never imagined that a few careless words could hurt someone so deeply. When he reached the laboratory, the place felt colder than usual. Lyra was already there, standing by the analysis table, quietly examining a holographic display. Her face was calm, but something had changed. The gentle spark in her eyes was gone. Ethan approached carefully. "Hey," he said softly, trying to sound casual. "About last night?" She didn't look up. "It was my mistake," she said in a quiet voice. "I misunderstood your words. Please forget it." Her tone was polite, distant, one as if speaking to a stranger. Ethan felt a sharp ache in his chest. "Lyra, I didn't mean to hurt you. I swear I didn't know what that meant on your world. She nodded slightly but still didn't meet his gaze. You were honest. It was I who assumed meaning where there was none. Ethan wanted to say something more, something that could fix the invisible wall growing between them, but every word he thought of sounded useless. The day went on like that, mechanical, quiet, and heavy. Lyra spoke only when necessary, using short, careful sentences. Her laughter, the small spark that used to brighten the room, was gone. Even the other scientists noticed. One of them whispered, "Did something happen between you two?" Ethan only shook his head. He couldn't explain what had happened. How could he tell them he broke someone's heart without even realizing it? Later that evening, when the others had left, Ethan stayed behind. He saw Lyra standing near the observation window watching the strange violet sky of Asteron 9. He walked up to her slowly. "You don't have to keep your distance," he said quietly. "I really care about working with you. I miss how we used to talk." Lyra didn't move for a long time. Finally, she said, "Anza Lyra, when two souls accept a bond, it is forever. We do not speak of it lightly. For me, those words you said were sacred. When you said it was a joke, it felt as if the stars inside me went dark." Her voice broke slightly and Ethan felt his heart tighten. He wanted to reach for her hand but stopped himself. "I didn't know," he whispered. "If I had, I never would have said it like that. You mean too much for me to hurt you?" She turned her head slightly, her silver eyes shimmering with unshed tears. "Do humans always speak without meaning?" Ethan looked down, ashamed. "Sometimes we do. We joke to hide our feelings. We say things we wish were true, but we're afraid to mean them." Her eyes softened for a moment. "Then you wish it was true?" Ethan hesitated. The truth was tangled inside him, hard to explain. "I don't know," he admitted honestly. "But when I said it, part of me wished it could be." The silence stretched between them again, not angry but fragile, like glass that could break with one wrong word. Finally, Lyra sighed. "Perhaps humans and Zillyrians are too different. You speak with light hearts, but we love with heavy ones. We do not know how to pretend." She turned to leave, her steps slow and quiet. Ethan called after her, "Lyra, please, I don't want to lose our friendship." She paused at the door but didn't look back. "Then stop trying to make me forget what you said." "Because I can't." The door slid shut, leaving Ethan alone once more. The soft hum of the machines filled the empty room, and he stood there staring at the place she had been. He realized that her silence hurt more than any argument could. She wasn't angry and she was broken, and the worst part was that she still tried to hide it for his sake. That night, Ethan sat under the glass dome, staring at the twin moons. He whispered into the darkness, "Lyra, I wish I could take it back, or make it real," but only the stars listened. Silent witnesses to a bond neither of them understood. One made by accident, but already strong enough to change them both. Days passed, and the silence between Ethan and Lyra became its own kind of language. They still worked in the same laboratory, still exchanged short words about research and repairs, but something inside those words had changed. There was no warmth, no laughter, no spark. It was like two stars orbiting each other but never touching. Ethan tried to act normal. He told himself that things would go back to how they were, but every time he looked at her, the calm, silver glow of her skin, the way her eyes softened when she spoke, his heart ached. She was near yet too far. He had broken something delicate, something he didn't even know he was building. One evening after the others had gone, Ethan found her sitting alone by the glass dome. Outside, the alien sky shimmered with violet light. The two moons hung like silver coins bright against the blackness. She sat cross-legged, staring at the horizon in silence. He hesitated, then walked closer. "You always sit here at night," he said softly. "It is quiet here," Lyra replied, her voice gentle but distant. "The stars help me think." Ethan sat down beside her, keeping a small distance between them. "Do you ever think about going back to Zillyra?" She smiled faintly. "Sometimes. But when I first came here, I thought I might make a new home. Humans are so alive. You speak, laugh, argue, feel so deeply. I wanted to understand that." Ethan looked at her, his voice low. "And now?" "Now," she said after a pause, "I understand too well. Humans speak with their hearts but forget the weight of their words. You make promises in play, but we take them as forever." Her words hit him hard. He stared at his hands, unable to answer. You're right, he said finally. We joke because we're scared. Scared of being serious, scared of being rejected. Lyra turned her eyes toward him. Are you scared of me, Ethan? He met her gaze and shook his head. No, I'm scared of what I feel when I'm near you. She blinked slowly, surprised. And what do you feel? He laughed nervously. I don't even know. Peace, maybe, or chaos. You confuse me in the best and worst ways. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. The soft hum of the colony's energy systems filled the quiet air. Then a small smile touched Lyra's lips. Humans are strange. You make confusion sound like poetry. Ethan smiled back, a faint warmth rising between them again. Maybe it is poetry, he said softly. They sat together in silence, watching the stars. The air between them felt lighter now, but also fragile, like a truce neither wanted to break. After a while, Lyra whispered, When you said those words about being a cute wife, what did you imagine? What picture did you have in your mind? Ethan thought for a moment. I imagined someone who'd stand beside me. Someone brave, kind, maybe a little too serious sometimes. Someone who makes me feel like home. Lyra looked down. That sounds beautiful. It does, he said quietly. And maybe that someone wasn't imaginary. Her eyes widened slightly, but before she could speak, the colony lights flickered. A power surge shook the dome and alarms blared in the distance. Both of them jumped to their feet. Ethan grabbed his communicator. It's the water generator again. Lyra followed him through the corridors. The colony shuddered as they reached the main chamber. Sparks flew from the damaged system and the sound of rushing steam filled the air. Without thinking, Ethan ran forward to shut the valves. Ethan, wait! The pressure is unstable. Lyra shouted, I've got it! He yelled back, struggling with the controls. The pipes groaned dangerously. Suddenly, Lyra grabbed his arm, pulling him back just as a valve exploded in a burst of hot vapor. The two of them fell to the ground, tangled together, coughing and gasping for air. Ethan blinked through the smoke. Lyra's arms were around him, shielding him from debris. Her silver skin shimmered faintly, bruised but glowing. You saved me, he whispered. Lyra's breathing was shallow. You would have done the same. Their eyes met in the flickering light, and for that brief, fragile moment, the world around them disappeared. The alarms, the smoke, the danger, none of it mattered. There was only the sound of their hearts and the space between them finally closing. After the explosion, things in the colony changed. The accident had injured several workers, but everyone agreed on one thing. If Ethan and Lyra hadn't acted quickly, the whole base could have been lost. Their teamwork saved lives, but instead of praise, whispers began to spread. Some humans in the colony looked at them differently. They said Ethan was getting too close to the alien woman. Some joked behind his back, others warned him quietly. Be careful, Ethan, they don't think like us. Ethan tried to ignore it, but every time he saw Lyra walking through the corridors, he could feel eyes following her. She acted calm as always, but he could see the way her shoulders tensed, the way her hands clasped tightly when others stared too long. One day, the colony commander called Ethan into his office. The man's expression was serious. Ethan, your cooperation with the Zilarian scientist has been noted. You're a good worker, but you must remember, our relationship with their species is still sensitive. Keep things professional. Ethan frowned. Professional? Sir, we're just working together. The commander sighed. Maybe, but people are talking. I'm not telling you to stop, just don't give them reason to think otherwise. Ethan left the room angry and hurt. They didn't understand. Lyra wasn't just another species to him anymore. She was a person who had saved his life, who had changed the way he saw everything. That night, he found her in the lab again, sitting quietly under the soft glow of the monitors. Her silver blue skin shimmered faintly in the low light. She was beautiful in a way that words couldn't describe. Not because of how she looked, but because of the calm she carried inside her. You should rest, Ethan said softly as he walked in. You've been working all day. I could say the same to you, she replied, her tone gentle but tired. He smiled a little. Lyra, they spoke to me today. The commander. He told me to keep my distance. Lyra froze, her eyes lowering. I see. It's ridiculous, Ethan continued. We didn't do anything wrong. Her voice was quiet. Humans fear what they don't understand. On Zilira, we learn to accept differences. Here it is harder for you. He took a slow step closer. Does it bother you? The way they talk about us? She turned to face him, her eyes glistening softly. It doesn't bother me, she said, but it hurts. Not because of what they say, But because I can see how it hurts you, Ethan's throat tightened. He wanted to tell her everything. How he couldn't stop thinking about her. How her silence haunted his dreams. How her voice could calm his storms. But before he could speak, Lyra looked away. "It would be easier if you stayed away," she said softly. His chest ached. "You really want that?" Her lips trembled. "No. But sometimes love and peace cannot live in the same space." The words hit him like a blade. He wanted to argue, to tell her that he didn't care what anyone thought. But she was already turning away, her shoulders shaking slightly. He stepped forward, reaching out. "Lyra?" She stopped him with a quiet whisper. "Please, Ethan, don't make this harder." For a long moment, neither spoke. The only sound was the soft hum of machines and the faint rhythm of two hearts breaking in the same silence. Lyra finally walked toward the exit, her silver glow fading into the darkness of the corridor. Ethan stood alone, staring after her. When the door closed, the lab felt emptier than ever. Every sound echoed. Every light felt cold. He sat down where she had stood moments ago, touching the place where her hand had rested on the table. He realized then that love wasn't always a loud declaration. Sometimes it was quiet suffering. Two souls pulled apart not by hate, but by the world's fear. And as he looked out the window at the alien night, Ethan whispered to himself, "If love means standing apart, I'll still love her, from wherever I stand." The following weeks passed in silence. Ethan and Lyra hardly spoke anymore, though both carried the weight of unspoken words. Work became routine. Days melted into nights, and their hearts lived in quiet pain. Then one morning, everything changed. An alarm screamed through the colony, a deep, piercing sound that shook the walls. Ethan was in the control bay when the alert flashed across the screen. Mine collapse detected, Sector 12. His blood went cold. That was where Lyra's team had gone earlier that day. He didn't think twice. Grabbing his oxygen mask and toolkit, he sprinted through the corridors. "You can't go in there," a guard shouted. "The tunnels are unstable." "I'm not leaving her," Ethan yelled, his voice breaking as he ran into the lift. The metal doors closed behind him with a sharp hiss. When the lift opened, dust and smoke filled the air. The ground trembled under his feet. He could hear distant shouts and the groaning sound of bending metal. The air smelled of burning wires and soil. Ethan covered his face with a cloth and moved forward, shouting, "Lyra! Where are you?" No answer. He turned down a side corridor and then he heard it, a faint cough, weak and muffled by debris. He followed the sound, pushing through broken beams and fallen rock until he found her. Lyra was trapped under a heavy support bar. Her silver-blue skin was covered in dust and her breathing was shallow. When she saw him, her eyes widened. "Ethan, you shouldn't have come," she whispered. He dropped to his knees beside her. "Don't say that. I'm getting you out." She tried to shake her head. "The tunnel. It's not stable. You'll be buried too." "I don't care," he said fiercely, his voice trembling. "I can't lose you, Lyra." Ethan grabbed a metal rod and used it as leverage, straining to lift the beam. His muscles burned, sweat mixing with dust on his face. The ground rumbled and part of the ceiling cracked, showering them with dirt. Lyra cried out, "Ethan, stop! You'll die!" He didn't stop. "Then I'll die trying." With a final heave, the beam shifted just enough for Lyra to pull free. She gasped, clutching his arm as they stumbled backward. Ethan tore off his oxygen mask and pressed it against her face. "Breathe," he said, coughing hard. "Take it. You need it more." Lyra tried to push it back to him, but he shook his head stubbornly. "Do as I say, Lyra, please." The tunnel shuddered again, a deep growl echoing through the rocks. They began to run, or at least tried to. Ethan's vision blurred, his chest tight from smoke. He stumbled, but Lyra caught him, pulling him forward despite her injuries. Finally, they burst out of the collapsing shaft into the daylight. The ground behind them gave way with a deafening roar. The tunnel sealed shut forever. They both fell to the ground, gasping. Lyra's hands trembled as she touched his face. "Ethan, your oxygen—" He smiled weakly. "Guess I should have listened to you for once." Tears filled her eyes, glimmering like liquid silver. "Why would you risk your life for me?" He laughed softly, though his voice cracked. "Because maybe I wasn't joking after all." Her breath caught, her gaze softening. She leaned closer, pressing her forehead gently against his. "Humans," she whispered. "You are foolish. And beautiful. Ethan's eyes fluttered shut. Just promise me you'll stay safe, he murmured. She held his hand tightly. Only if you promise not to leave me. When the rescue team arrived, they found the two sitting side by side, holding hands. Lyra refused to let go of him as they were carried back to the colony's medical bay, and even as darkness pulled at the edges of Ethan's mind, one thought burned bright and clear. He would do it again. 1,000 times over, for her. The first thing Ethan felt was light, soft and warm like morning sun through glass. Then came the sound of gentle beeping and the faint hum of machines. His body ached all over, his lungs burned, and his head felt heavy. Slowly, he opened his eyes. He was in the colony's medical bay. The white ceiling above him looked too bright. He tried to move, but pain rippled through his chest. A familiar voice broke the silence. "You are awake," Lyra whispered. He turned his head slowly. She was sitting beside him, her silver-blue skin still marked by faint scratches and bruises. Her eyes glowed softly under the dim light, filled with worry and warmth. Ethan managed a weak smile. "You look better than I do." Lyra's lips curved slightly. "That is true. You humans are not built for falling rocks." He chuckled, then coughed from the effort. She reached out quickly, placing a cool hand on his arm. "Do not move too much. You lost oxygen for too long, I remember," he said softly. "I told you to take my mask." Her eyes darkened. "You should not have done that. You could have died." "I told you," he said, voice rough but gentle. "I wasn't joking about what I said." Lyra looked down, her fingers tightening around his hand. "You risked everything for me, Ethan, even when I told you to stay away." He smiled faintly. "That's what humans do when they care. We don't always think, we just feel." Her eyes lifted, and for a moment neither of them spoke. The world outside the room seemed to disappear. There was only the sound of their breathing, one steady, one fragile, both alive. After a long silence, Lyra whispered, "When I saw the tunnel collapse, I thought I had lost you. I felt something I cannot describe. It was like part of my soul was breaking." Ethan's chest ached, not from injury, but from emotion. "Now you know what love feels like," he said softly. "Love," she repeated the word slowly as if tasting it. "We do not have that word in my language. On Zellara we say Nathel, which means two hearts choosing the same path," he smiled. "That's even better than our word?" Lyra tilted her head, her voice quiet. "And if I say Nathel to you, what would you answer?" Ethan reached for her hand, his fingers brushing against her smooth skin. "I'd say it back because I've already chosen the same path." Her eyes shimmered with tears that looked like liquid silver. She leaned forward slightly, pressing her forehead against his. For a moment, the air between them felt like peace, soft, silent, and full of meaning. When the door opened, the colony commander entered. He stopped, surprised to see them so close. His voice was stern. "Ethan, you need rest. The doctors said you'll recover, but you must not push yourself." Ethan nodded slowly. "I understand, sir." The commander hesitated, his eyes shifting toward Lyra. Then he sighed. "You saved lives down there, both of you. Whatever people said before, they were wrong." Lyra blinked in surprise. "You approve of us working together again?" The commander's face softened. "After what you two did, no one can doubt that humans and Zellerians can trust each other. Maybe even care for each other." He left quietly, leaving them alone again. Lyra turned to Ethan with a soft smile. "Your people are beginning to see." Ethan squeezed her hand. "They're learning what I learned a long time ago, that your heart is as human as mine." Her expression grew tender. "When you teased me once, I thought your words were careless. But now I see you spoke truth, only before you knew it yourself." Ethan smiled weakly, tears filling his eyes. "Yeah, I think I finally mean every word." She leaned closer, her voice barely above a whisper. "Then I accept again." For a moment, neither of them moved. Then she rested her head on his shoulder, and the quiet hum of the machines faded into the rhythm of two hearts. One human, one alien, beating in time. The universe outside was vast and full of differences, but in that small medical room, something greater had begun. Not a treaty, not a discovery, but a simple truth. Love, no matter the world, could bridge the impossible. Weeks passed since the cave accident. Ethan had recovered enough to walk again, though his steps were still slow. Every morning he sat outside the colony's dome, watching the alien sunrise paint the skies with violet and gold. And beside him always was Lyra. The humans had stopped whispering when she walked by. Some even nodded politely. The Zillyrians, too, who once viewed Ethan with suspicion, now bowed slightly in silent respect. Something had changed, not just between them, but between their worlds. One morning, as soft winds brushed across the fields of glowing moss, Lyra turned to Ethan. Her voice was calm but full of quiet strength. "They are calling me back, Ethan. The High Council wants to hear about what happened in the tunnels." He looked at her, his heart tightening. "You mean you have to leave?" "For a while," she said gently. "They wish to know the truth, and they wish to know about you." Ethan laughed softly, though his chest hurt. "I hope they like stories about foolish humans who give away their oxygen." She smiled. "They will hear of a human with a brave heart, a man who taught me what love means." The word love left her lips softly, and it lingered in the air. Ethan looked away toward the horizon. "You know," he said quietly, "when I said that joke that you'd make a cute wife, I didn't mean for any of this to happen." Lyra's eyes softened, glowing with faint light. "And yet everything happened because of that single moment." He smiled sadly. "Guess words are powerful after all." Lyra stepped closer, her hand resting against his cheek. "Ethan, I once lived believing duty was everything. That emotion was weakness. But you showed me that caring is strength, that hearts can protect more than armor ever could." He closed his eyes, holding her hand against his face. "And you showed me that love isn't just about the same kind of people. It's about the same kind of soul." For a long moment, they stood there, two beings from different stars, wrapped in a silence that said everything words could not. That night, the colony held a small gathering under the twin moons. Humans and Zillyrians sat together sharing food and stories. Children laughed and played among the glowing plants. It felt like a beginning, fragile but real. Ethan sat near the fire watching Lyra speak to a group of colonists. Her laughter, rare and bright, echoed softly through the air. For the first time he saw no fear in their eyes, only curiosity, even admiration. Later, when the crowd grew quiet, the commander stood and raised his voice. "Tonight we celebrate more than survival. We celebrate understanding. What happened in those tunnels showed us that courage and compassion have no species." People clapped, humans and Zillyrians alike. And as the sound faded, Lyra looked toward Ethan, her gaze steady, filled with emotion that didn't need words. When the fire dimmed and the night turned still, she walked to him. "Tomorrow I leave for the council," she said softly. "But I will return." Ethan nodded, his voice low. "And I'll wait. No matter how long." Lyra reached for something around her neck, a small crystal pendant that shimmered faintly. She placed it in his hand. "This will glow when I think of you. Keep it close and you will know I am safe." He smiled weakly. "I'll never take it off." She leaned closer, her forehead resting against his. "Then this is our promise. Across stars, across time, and our hearts will find each other," he whispered. "Nathal." Her eyes widened softly at the word of her people, spoken in a human voice. Then with a trembling smile she answered, "Nathal, my human." The next morning the skies were quiet as Lyra's silver ship rose from the ground, leaving trails of light across the dawn. Ethan watched until the ship became a single star among many. Months would pass, seasons would change, but every night when he looked at the pendant, it glowed faintly, a sign that somewhere light years away, someone was thinking of him. And one evening, long after, when a new star appeared above the colony, brighter than all the rest, Ethan smiled. He whispered to the night, "I knew you'd come back." The air seemed to shimmer, and for a brief second, he felt warmth, not from the sun, not from the fire, but from love that had crossed galaxies. Love that began with a tease, and ended with a promise that even the stars would remember.